Hey, this is Ronnie LeBlanc from Expedition Bigfoot, and you're listening to the Paranormally Zone.
Look, I know the supernatural is something that isn't supposed to happen, but it does happen.
A ghostly apparition in the dark of night.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Hey there, ponderers of the paranormal. You have found the Paranormally Zone, your place for all things paranormal, mysterious, and strange. My name is Patrick Koffenberg. I am responsible for these shenanigans, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host with the ghosts, the paranormal poster boy himself, the stunning Mike Carbno.
Would you pull this crap out of an old hat or something?
A very, very old hat. Very old hat. Filled with holes. And just only certain little words remain and cling to the bottom of said hat. No, actually I was glancing to my right when I was looking at a description of a particular book that we might mention later on.
We must mention.
And it says the bestseller that stunned the country. So I was like, the stunning Mike Carbno. So there you go. So yeah.
I have stunned nothing.
You have none. You have none. You have none stunned. Okay.
Yep, that's right. I am a nun-stunner.
Non-stunner. Well,
non-stunner.
Don't say that because there might be some nuns listening right now, so and they won't appreciate that.
Oh, no. Yeah.
You don't think
I'm
so?
sure I've stunned a few nuns. No, I have not.
I like that. Stunned a
I
few
don't
nuns.
even know any. Well, I do know a couple of nuns in passing that I see at work often.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Wonderful ladies.
Absolutely.
Absolutely wonderful.
Well, how you doing there, buddy? It's good to see you. It is.
But then again, I have never gone to a Catholic school before.
Well, that's true. That's true. You're missing out. You're missing out on a lot then.
But anyway.
But
I know I kind of walked over there, but you were kind of frozen up there a little bit, and we
I could tell.
Mixed matched.
I could tell because you have walked over me a couple of times now. Am I fine? Am I coming through now to you?
Sure. Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
You're coming through to me as well. This was happening before we started recording, so I'm going, damn you, Zoom! Don't do this to us now, Zoom!
Zuma.
So I wonder,
Zoom.
I don't know, I bet you there might be a reason, there might be a culprit behind this. We have a lot of internet bandwidth being used right now, so I'm wondering if the Zoom reception is being affected by that. Could be. Could be, but hey, we'll forge through. Am I still freezing up on you, Mike?
No.
Okay, good.
Nope.
Right.
So far, so good.
All right. Am I
the
stunning?
unfrozen Patrick?
Yeah. I'm no Minnesota Ice man. That's for sure. I'm a lot shorter and I'm thawed out. So
see Patrick in this little chunk of ice. You can walk up these steps, pay your quarter to see Patrick frozen in ice.
Yes.
You can see part of the face and the big toe, like I saw on the Minnesota Ice Man.
Yes.
And half of a penis.
I was going to say my hands would be strategically placed before I was frozen because I'd be self-conscious of myself even if I was frozen in the block of ice. I'd still somehow be covering myself up, but
covering your private parts with like something that resembles a coonskin cap
or something. Sure, anything like that. So hey, yeah. Sounds like we're firing on all cylinders tonight, so that's good. So, we'll forge through all the Zoom connection problems. So if this is the first time you're tuning in, we usually don't have these Zoom issues. This is kind of frustrating, but like I said, we'll fight through it. So it'll be
A few
good.
years ago, we would have
Oh,
multiple problems with every episode,
Every
and
episode.
Patrick would get so mad. So just he'd be growling, trying to figure out what to do, and I could see his face getting more and more red, and then purple, and then stuff would start to come out of his ears, and
It wasn't pretty.
he's so
folks.
pissed off.
It wasn't pretty. I remember
it wasn't.
I'd make Mike feel very uncomfortable because just how upset I was getting.
Because what would make me uncomfortable is you would always say, "It's got to be on your end. It's got to be on your end."
Oh, come on now. Come on now. Yeah, whatever. I'll play.
And then I'm like sitting here like having no idea what to do.
Hey, you know what? That's a great segue. Get it out of the way. If you want to listen to, and we're joking about the quality of all these older episodes. If you want to listen to the archives of the Alternate Route podcast, our former namesake, and even including as far back as Nonsensicast radio days, we're talking
where it gets really crazy,
really crazy, really raw back in the day, going as far back as 2013. It's like, holy
especially
shit.
the episodes with Bridget, very raw.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, we need to get Bridget back on the show.
I know.
I
agree.
I keep nudging her. But anyways, if you're interested in the backlog of all those episodes, go to our Patreon page. For as little as $1 a month, you'll have access to all of the archived episodes. We're coming up on 200 exclusive posts. I still got a ton more to put up there.
And Patrick's fingers are bleeding from doing all of this work for the patron listeners.
But you know what? It's so worth it. It's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun
absolutely.
putting it together. We have our exclusive series, exclusive podcast episodes that we record just for our Patreon page. Our latest one recorded just last Wednesday. We have our commentary and breakdown series exclusives where we talk about all paranormal programming, ghost hunters, ghost adventures, where we focus on particular episodes and just break them down. We talk about them. It's a great time. They seem to be pretty popular. And then last week, Mike, Wednesday, we got together, returned to our creature feature series where we dig up just bizarre, wacko, alleged cryptids out there, alleged goofy, or not even goofy, but creepy and goofy.
Oh, yeah. A lot of fun, which every Wednesday is when we're going to try to get these out.
Yes, absolutely.
And so we're going to have them set so we can have them, we want to have that content, the newest content possible out there
consistently.
Every week.
Consistently.
Yes, consistent.
And we have several other exclusive episodes, including full-length video episodes. We have even reaction videos where we put on some paranormal footage, alleged footage on the screen, and you get to see our lovely faces reacting to it and talking about it and breaking them down. We even do that with some music videos as well. It's kind of cool. But some of the coolest stuff on our Patreon page, you have access to all of our interviews that we have done in the past with the biggest names in the paranormal field that you
absolutely
can think of.
And we're not joking about that.
We are not joking about that.
About the biggest names. We've been quite fortunate.
Very fortunate. Chip Coffey, Amy Bruni, Adam Barry, Jason Haas, Grant Wilson, Steve Gonzalez, Ron Moorhead, Andrea Perrin. I mean, my gosh, the list goes on and on and on. It's been we've been so blessed and so lucky.
Yeah. And a lot of that, we need to give a shout out to the Travel Channel itself. I mean, they have been working with us fantastically.
They've been setting us up
helping setting us up with these fantastic guests. So Travel Channel, I love it.
Thank you very, very much. Well, they just recently set us up with Bryce Johnson and Ronnie LeBlanc from Expedition Bigfoot. We had an awesome chat with them. You can watch the video chat of that on our Patreon page. You can watch a video chat, our latest video chat with Ron Moorhead from the awesomely famous Sierra Sounds, Bigfoot Sounds, most famous Bigfoot audio vocalizations ever recorded. Ron Moorhead is an expert in the Bigfoot field and beyond. And probably the coolest part, you get to hear and listen and watch all of our own personal ghost hunting experiences. Yes, we are amateur paranormal investigators, Mike, and we've got some pretty interesting stuff out there, video and audio for sure. So,
and have some things in the works and plans, and we have some traveling that we're going to do this summer.
Absolutely. I can't wait, man. Anyway, I've already gone too long, but it's a shameless.
Yes, and so much more to come in the Patreons, and there's so much more to come with wonderful, great, big name guests. Like next month, we have coming the one and only.
Oh my gosh, we do. That's right. Well, we can't really give it away yet. I did post, if you're curious about, if you're curious about a guest that we have lined up the first week of May, I don't know how to describe this person right now without giving it away. Check it out on our Patreon page. They've known for about a month who's coming up. We are super excited about this.
Yep. And this can be all paranormal.
All paranormal discussion and nothing else.
Yep.
But man, you know what? The content is just growing and growing, and I've gone on long enough for the shameless self-promo, so I'm done. We're done. Mike.
We're done.
On to the topic at hand, the Battersea poltergeist. This is a flipping weird
story. And I've never heard of it before, the Battersea poltergeist.
Yeah, this is an alleged haunting that took place over a decade. I mean, the alleged occurrences went on for like 12 years.
Yeah, this was back in the 50s that this happened.
1956 when this began.
56,
ran through 1968. I wasn't familiar with this story either, Mike. It is beyond fascinating.
And the story from beginning, middle to end is fascinating.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Let's just dive right into it. Oh, wait, hold on. Stick around for the entire episode, though, because we have a very good topic for our One Last Take segment. Our One Last Take segments are where we choose an infamous cryptid, an infamous haunting, infamous paranormal alleged occurrence, any number of things. They don't always have to be infamous, but, you know, they're controversial for sure. And we go either way, yay or nay. We're
nowhere in the middle. It's got to be yay or nay.
No shades of gray at all. Basically, we break it down briefly and we just rant and rave. We're very opinionated in our one last take segment, and I'm looking forward to this one. We're diving into the Amityville horror, the true story, the alleged true story,
the classic standard
behind the
Amityville horror.
So I'm looking forward to.
It's always good.
Yep, I'm looking forward to hearing your take on that one, Mike. Your one last take. Let's do it. So, anyways, first and foremost, though, the Battersea poltergeist. It only took us 11 and a half minutes to get there, but hey. We're almost reverting back to alternate out podcast days.
Yeah, no kidding. Yes, it's a great English story, Great Britain.
Yes.
And you know, and I'm sure, and the way this story seems, it seems like it's a huge story in Great Britain, where very popular. I mean, even to today, they have a podcast about it, and things are going on with it that, you know, and to our listeners out there in the great British Isles. Anyway, if you know, listen along, and if you have any comments on this to enlighten us a little bit more, you know, let us know. We would love to hear from you. In my ancestral area of England.
There you go.
And just hear what you have to say about it.
Yeah, we highly encourage any and all interaction with all of our listeners. We love hearing, love hearing from you guys. Even if you want to rip on us a little bit, do it kindly.
Oh yeah,
put a little.
Like I've said before, Patrick's a little sensitive.
I do. If I see something negative, I cry and poop my pants a little bit. And,
yes,
and not necessarily.
His left eye starts to twitch uncontrollably.
It does
for like about a week.
Yeah. Not necessarily in that order either. So I could poop and then cry, or I don't know. I guess it doesn't matter.
Both at the same time.
Yep. But as we mentioned, Mike, the alleged haunting of Battersea first occurred in January 1956. So yeah, we're going back almost 70 years. I'm sorry, Mike. I'm trying to scratch my back. You ever get those itches between your damn shoulder blades?
I hate it. I can't reach it.
I can't reach it. I'm sorry, everybody. Right when we start, I'm getting distracted by an itch. So 1956. It involves the Hitchens family, and I'm looking at my trusty notes here, Mike. You can hear it right now,
I do.
and you can
This
see
is
it
in
as well.
this is in Battersea,
Battersea in
southwest London.
Absolutely. Hitchens family, the parents Wally and Kitty, grandma Ethel, family member Mark, who I couldn't quite find who exactly this Mark might be, but I think it might be a stepbrother.
I think it was the butler.
The butler. Oh, it may have been the butler.
No.
Okay. The butler with the candlestick.
handmaiden.
And then
Oh, no,
the
that's
one,
different.
the pretty much the focus of this alleged haunting, the Dr. Shirley Hitchens. This
Mhm.
is where a lot of these
A
haunting,
young teenager at the time.
yes, 15 years old.
Hmm.
All this took place number 63 Wycliffe Road, Battersea, London. All started harmlessly enough, I would say, seemingly harmless, when upon coming back home, family members discovered a beautiful ornate silver key sitting on Shirley's pillow.
Right, which is interesting because this poltergeist type activity,
Mhm.
and then this is centered. Well, the key is left on this young teenager female teenager's pillow.
Right.
So it's like the very first account is directed towards her, and they can't figure it out
Yep.
where it came from.
Seemingly so. And they tried this key in every lock in the house.
Yep.
And of course, it didn't fit. So that's unique right away. I mean, personally, I don't know how I would have reacted to something like that. You would have to be, if you were like me and your daughter came up to you and swore to you on her life that she didn't put that key there, you'd have to believe her. I'd believe her.
Absolutely.
So even if I am a skeptic, be like, well, why would my daughter wouldn't make that stuff up? So starting off weird right away. Now, this basically set off this was like the most benign occurrence.
Yes.
A lot of happenings started at this moment, or I should say immediately after this moment. For over 12 years, this continued, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
And as we said, most of these hauntings seem to center around 15-year-old Shirley. She was basically the focus. It almost seemed like there was, at one point, a romantic attachment, but which is interesting enough in itself, because I wanted to ask you about that, Mike, when we get to that. Well, I'll just ask you right now. I'll just ask you right now. Your thoughts on if there is a ghost in your house, Mike, or in anyone's house, your thoughts on there being a romantic attachment between said ghost and the living in that house. And I'll extend that a little bit more. An intelligent romantic attachment. What do you think about that, and how many different ways could that go, in your opinion?
I think it can go in many ways. I think it's possible. I really do. I'm sure there are stories out there of this happening. What was it? There was a story that I read about a lady that actually married the ghost of some pirate, I believe.
Yes. Yep. I know exactly what you're talking about. I know. See that?
We talked about that. Yeah.
That's another podcast altogether, but yeah.
Yeah, it is. But, if you got an intelligent spirit that is stuck in a house and lonely and why can't it have emotions and feelings and become attached? I mean,
right.
That's why if somebody moves out, a spirit can follow that person or that family to the next place they live because of an attachment. Why can't it be a romantic attachment or any kind of attachment, family, feeling of family or whatever?
Does that, if there is a romantic attachment there between the living and the dead, does that suggest to you in any way that perhaps that being on the other side of the veil isn't aware that they aren't in the same realm of existence as the living, and they're just trying in vain to reach out to this person that they are infatuated with? In a way, that's sad if it's true.
Yeah, very sad. Very sad.
I don't know what I think about that one. I guess I buy into it. I mean, why not?
I do. And then of course there's the frighteningly, I can't say romantic, but
Obsessed.
the frighteningly sexual attachment of a
Not good.
incubus or succubus, which is another whole different
good
story.
Lord. Yeah, and that's pure terror right there. That's pure terror. I don't like it. I don't like.
No.
Yeah, well, I think it's safe to say you and I both buy into that possibility. At
The
least.
possibility is there, yes.
Now, moving on here, let's get on to some of these alleged occurrences.
Started out pretty slow, actually. I mean, kind of easy and
Yes.
kind of worked its way into
It did.
getting a little crazy.
Now, I will give a little background on the family here, just to get a little understanding. The Hitchens family were ordinary working class family. As I said, the father, Wally, the wife, Kitty. Kitty was a former office clerk. Wally was a London Underground driver. Kitty was unfortunately confined to a wheelchair due to her chronic arthritis. And that comes into play later when you may wonder, like, why didn't this family move? You know, if they're traumatized and terrorized. Well, when you think about having a family member, you know, the matriarch being an invalid, essentially being physically incapable of doing such, it's not that easy. You can't just pick up and go.
Right.
So, I mean, that's something to consider. Grandmother Ethel, I mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
She was described as being a very fiery character. She was known locally as Old Mother Hitchens.
Yeah.
So, there's Old Mother Hitchens. And their adopted son, John. So I had read Mark earlier, so that must have been incorrect.
Yeah. And Jerry Mathers as
That beaver.
the beaver.
Of course. John was a surveyor in his 20s. And finally, Shirley, Wally, and Kitty's 15-year-old daughter. Shirley, who was Wally and Kitty's 15-year-old daughter, of course. And she was about to start up art school. Now, in late 1956, after discovering that silver key on her pillowcase, that very same night is when things started getting really kind of weird, though.
Yeah.
Noises, apparently super loud noises, began to just bang throughout the house. Like
knocking, banging, thumps, incessant pounding that reverberated around the house.
Yeah,
It says
deafening.
claw-like scratching emanating from the inside of the furniture, lights flashing on and off, and it was so loud that the neighbors came around to complain even.
That's loud.
So this was not just affecting in the house and the family, it was heard in the neighborhood.
The police actually were called, and the police themselves
Absolutely.
heard these noises. Now,
Exactly.
that's something you can't just toss aside. You can't just say, everyone's making everything up right now. This is a bunch of hooey.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the police are involved here, and the police themselves said that they heard this when they were outside of the house.
Right.
There's so much noise going on there. Some of these descriptions of the noises, Mike, are just kind of creepy themselves. How they say, like, it sounded like these noises were coming from within the furniture, within, like, the headboards on their bed, or the armrests of their chairs. It almost was like the furniture was alive or something.
Right.
To
And
me,
then, like
that's
Shirley had
creepy as
said,
hell.
when she, it was as if the noises came from the bowels of the earth.
Yuck.
They went on until daylight. They were traumatized. I remember clinging to my dad saying, please make it stop. And she even said that some of it sounded like in air raid, like a World War II air raid.
Wow.
It was so bad.
No, that's something you can't just dismiss. I don't care.
Right.
I don't care how skeptical you are. That's too much. That's too much.
Too much.
Now, neither the police nor the surveyors could get to the bottom of where these noises were coming from. Several photographers and reporters were called into the house and were themselves left, quote unquote, unsettled upon visiting the house. So you can maybe interpret what they mean by unsettled. But we're talking about a sleep-deprived family here, and so any number of things could be going into this as to what's causing these reporters and photographers to feel unsettled themselves. They might feel unsettled just by how the family appears to them,
Mhm.
you know, because they're, like I said, they're terrified and sleep deprived. They probably are coming across, unknowing to themselves, they're probably coming across as creepy, you know?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Just gaunt looking, you know, terrified.
Yeah.
Now, there was a theory that was thrown out there, and this is what we focus on here on the Paranormal Zone, is that these noises were simply caused by supernatural presence. More specifically, a poltergeist.
Mm-hmm. A lot of things point to that.
It does, and I'm kind of perusing through this article right now. I want to get on. I'm trying to find stuff I want to hit on, stuff I want to skip. But
one interesting thing while you're doing that is that
go ahead, Mike. Go ahead, Mike.
The key actually vanished and they never saw it again.
When this ghost left in like 1968, apparently it took the key with it.
Right, but the noises and everything started up again, and
now they
worse.
named this ghost Donald.
Mm-hmm.
That's very interesting. Now, is that just a way for a family to cope, to make seem a little more relatable? But yeah, go ahead, Mike. What are you going to say?
Did you see why they named it Donald?
Well, tell us why they called it Donald.
They called it Donald. They named it Donald after Disney's Bad-Tempered Donald Duck. It said, like Donald Duck could get pretty pissy.
Oh gosh, yeah. I don't know. Tell me about it. Especially when Huey, Dewey, and Louie were pissing them off. Good God,
pretty bad. But then after from here, I mean, it starts getting pretty nasty. I mean, very physical.
But I mean, I don't want to gloss over my question. I threw to you though, Mike. Would that be something in your mind, or maybe I'm looking into it too deeply? But putting a name on this entity, this energy, does that somehow make it easier to cope with? Maybe
it's possible, but from what it seems like here, they're just giving the name because it's being a jerk. Sure. But giving it a name will also bring it a little more down to earth and kind of bring it, get it less of a paranormal feel to it. But I mean, this thing is just so crazy that no matter what they do, I mean, they're not going to get away from, whatever they could call it, Tinkerbell, and it's still going to be an issue,
Tinkerbell. Yeah.
Well,
I know what you're saying though. No, it was a thought. So thank you for Thank you for placating me and making me not feel like an idiot so much. But yeah, like you said, Mike, this one stuff starts getting pretty intense. Multiple witnesses actually claimed to have seen bed sheets flying off of the beds, slippers walking around on their own own accord. How terrifying is that?
And a slipper being flung up off the floor and hitting somebody in the head.
Good God Almighty!
Shirley was actually drugged from her bed and made to levitate. She was levitated off of her bed like a few inches, and her
thank you.
Parents seen that and didn't know what to think.
I think like a large clock was thrown off of the mantle.
Mm-hmm.
They said that they had to consistently dodge pots and pans that were thrown across the room, chairs being moved across the room. I mean, this is beyond classic poltergeist activity. This is damn right dangerous poltergeist activity. Now, and intense. It's like, oh my. What is the difference? I mean, what causes the intensity in poltergeist activity? Again, I love putting Mike on the spot, and what
causes the intensity?
Well, I'm not necessarily in this particular case, but I'm just asking you what causes the difference in intensity of poltergeist activity. Because
if it is caused by say a teenage girl and going through her changes and everything, and
which is a theory,
but if that theory is true, I think the intensity changes with the emotion and the strength of the emotion coming from the young girl.
Yeah.
But that's if that rings true with that theory.
Do you buy into that? Do you buy into that theory, Mike? Let's talk about that for a little bit. About how essentially essentially the emotional and physical energies as being created in the well, let's be frank about it, like the tumultuous life of a young girl going through all these changes herself somehow is able to conjure up physical activity unwittingly, maybe knowingly, I'm not sure. Now, I guess where I'm going at here is like, do you think and do you buy into the theory that this physical activity is not supernatural in any means, it's just simply created? Somehow the energy is manipulating
and manifested as a poltergeist activity.
Right. Or is it literally something that maybe is feeding off of the energy of this said girl?
I like that better.
Okay. Elaborate.
Feeding off the energy, and if a young girl, a teenage girl going through puberty or whatever if these things are caused by that and manifesting as a poltergeist and things being thrown around the room and her levitating, I mean, that's just as paranormal as if, the ghost of a dead guy came and is doing all this stuff and you can see it doing this stuff. I mean, it's just as crazy. I mean, if not more,
Oh, yeah,
it's
exactly.
all paranormal. It's all craziness, but I buy into the fact even more that it's an entity that is feeding off of the energy, this huge energy that's being, put out by these emotions. I mean, think of a demon that feeds off of emotion, feeds off of fear.
Oh, sure.
This is a ghost, not a demon, but a ghost that feeds off of this energy, like a spirit can feed off of a camera or a battery that's in your recording device or whatever when you're on an investigation. It's just another form of energy that feeds.
Okay, I like that
paranormal activity.
Yep, I think
draws energy.
I think I kind of like that as well, as opposed to it just being physical action being created by the energy put out by this young girl. Yeah,
it makes more sense to me.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, and it almost, again, there's a fine line to which side of the fence do you sit on? On this one, is it poltergeist? Is it malevolent? Is it benevolent? Is it benign? Does it go both ways? Can it go both ways?
Well,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
This case here, I mean, there's a lot of pretty serious stuff going on. A lot of activity. A lot of activity.
Easy for you to say.
It doesn't seem to be wanting to kill anybody or really hurt anybody. But it's terrifying, of course. But
if it doesn't want to hurt anybody, why are you throwing pots and pans?
Yeah. I don't know.
Or here's a crazy theory, and this is what we do on the Paranormal Zone. We just throw stuff off top of our heads. We throw it out there for you to ponder. Is it not capable of controlling its own output of energy? It is not necessarily trying to throw pots and pans, but it's just creating such this power that it's uncontrollable. And pots and pans just happen to be moved. And maybe the poltergeist is going, oh shit, my bad. I didn't mean to, but I'm just trying to get your attention. And that happened.
That could be,
maybe, I don't know,
just as real as any other theory, but I don't know. I think the things that are done are pretty deliberate. I mean, kind of thought out. It's like, okay, I'm going to pull the sheets off this bed. I'm going to make her levitate. I'm going to take these pans and I'm going to throw them across the room. I'm going to make these slippers walk across the room, and I'm going to hit him in the head with this other slipper.
Sure. Right. Right. Okay.
That's just my thought about it.
I gotcha. Yep. It's so intriguing, Mike. It's so fascinating. Okay, getting back to the story at hand. Now, as the story progresses, it becomes more and more clear that Donald, air quotes Donald, is absolutely fixated on Shirley. So much so that noises were following her to work and back.
Mm-hmm.
And it got to the
Got
point.
her fired.
Got her fired. Basically, it said like, you can't come to work until these noises stop coming with you.
Mhm.
I mean, my God.
And scissors at her job were disappearing and blamed on her and things like that. And
Oh my gosh. Shirley herself witnessed involuntarily moving. Was witnessed involuntarily moving in her bed. Mike talked about this already, and around the room by various family members and neighbors. So much so to the point of levitating. By now, her association with the poltergeist had caused her to lose her job and her friends. Many believed her to be actually possessed by the devil. Of course, they did. Now we get into the investigation part. What was the paranormal investigator's name? I wrote it down here. Tibbet, I believe it was. Harold.
I want to interject here for
Harold
just a
Tibbet.
second here.
Go ahead.
Shirley, actually, she did have some scratches and marks that were put on her face and
Thank you.
things like that. So there is some, more of a malevolent thing going on here.
God, 100%. That's starting to get nasty and terrifying.
Yeah, to the point where her mother actually wrote these things down and had drawn diagrams of where these scratches and marks were on her face.
Good Lord. Yep. That's not good. Now you're starting to get to the point of, well, if this is an intelligent haunting, an intelligent poltergeist haunting of some sort, now we're getting to the point of, is it attempting to manipulate other family members somehow or trying to change what their thoughts are as to what is causing these attacks? I said attacks. I don't mean attacks. These occurrences. I go from attacks to occurrences. That's quite a drop down in adjectives and words, but my mind is just kind of racing with that one, Mike. When we come to physical harm being done, that changes the whole landscape of this story.
It does. Yeah.
We're going beyond being we're going beyond fixation. We're going beyond romantic attachment. Far beyond that. This is like obsession, perhaps.
Oh, yeah. That's a good word to put to it. Yeah.
Back to the investigation. Yeah. Paranormal investigator Harold. I'm not sure if it's Chibbet or Kibbet. I'm not sure. Chibbet.
Probably Chibbet. He was known as Chib.
Good old Chib. Harry Chib. Yeah.
Hey, you got a hairy Chib.
I know. I'm trying to take care of that. Anyways, after these occurrences, around March of the same year, 1956, the Hitchens family haunting began to draw press attention. Of course it did. I mentioned earlier, the photographers and reporters were lingering in and about the house, some of them feeling unsettled. The newspapers started to report that the poltergeist was romantically obsessed with Shirley, which we already mentioned. Other people believed that the poltergeist was simply a figment of Shirley's imagination and that she was purposefully trying to stir up attention by conjuring up this story. Eventually, the Daily Mail got in touch with the family. Shirley was invited to the head office where she was strip searched to ensure that she wasn't hiding anything. The paper published...
Searched where? In the...
What's that?
Where was she taken to when she was strip searched?
She was invited into the head office of the Daily Mail.
Okay, and strip searched there. That sounds
that's
kind of
that's an invasion of privacy. My God.
Very.
The paper then published a sensational account of the story, which attracted widespread attention. I don't want to gloss over that. Was that a common practice in the 1950s in London? You know, we're going to strip search you because you say that you're haunted by a poltergeist?
I should say not.
Yeah. I don't like that either.
Yeah,
No,
I don't know.
This part was interesting to me. I mean, it's very brief. But this story garnered so much attention, Mike, that an attempt was made by the BBC to contact Donald on primetime TV.
Really?
That is crazy.
But he ended up being too much of a diva, and he wanted only green M&Ms in his room, his dressing room, and
yep, he
10 dozen roses, and
he wanted his ghostly cash up front. He didn't want any credit or checks or anything like that. Now, if that program is actually out there somewhere, I need to find that. I need to watch it.
Yeah, write these things down and
Man,
And,
that's bizarre.
We still have more research to do.
And this haunting was actually spoken about among the House or in the House of Commons. So this wasn't just a little tiny story that was, a little tiny local story in Battersea. This gathered nationwide attention for sure. Here we go. Yeah. Hey, Mike.
Okay.
Did I lose you?
What happened there?
Oh, now you're really quiet now, my friend.
Yeah.
Hey, we're having problems. We're gonna time travel real quick. Apparently, stuff's getting funky. Hold on, boys and girls. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back. I told you it would be seamless. Hopefully, we're through with all of the tech and audio issues, but we shall see.
My mic just quit on me.
I don't know. It's interesting. So,
Mhm.
as I tweeted during our time traveling excursion there, we just happened to be talking about nasty poltergeists, and of course, this is when we're having all sorts of audio and tech issues. So, hey, go figure. Go figure.
It happens.
Now, Harold Chibbett, the paranormal investigator drawn to this case, he was actually a tax inspector by day and a paranormal investigator by night. So he was a very well-known, connected individual, counting among friends as, or I should say, those he counted among friends included Arthur Conan Doyle, psychic researcher Harry Price, and science fiction writer Arthur C. Clarke.
Really? Well,
so
throwing some names around there.
Man, I miss me some Arthur C. Clarke, man. What a guy.
Yeah. He was pretty awesome.
This case became one of the biggest of Mr. Chibbett's life, and his extensive records demonstrate that he authentically believed in the Battersea poltergeist.
And he was actually the one that told the family that that's what he believed it was a poltergeist, and the family had never heard of a poltergeist
They
before.
were like, what are you even talking about?
Yeah, and they were freaked out and thought this was the end. They're gonna die because of this thing called the poltergeist. Is,
well,
causing problems.
Well, the term poltergeist sounds terrifying. It just sounds scary.
Yeah. Well, all German words do. and the way the German language is spoken. Well, it's frightening. There's so much force behind a sentence.
And no offense to our awesome German listeners.
Absolutely.
By the way, but it's interesting for sure.
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's like.
So are you saying my last name is terrifying to you, Mike?
Well, it depends on how you say it. If you put the Von in front of it, then it's
okay.
Kind of goosebumps my arms a little bit.
Von Kaffenburg, something like that.
Yeah. I have great respect for
So
great respect.
I lost my.
Germany would be an awesome place to go visit.
Oh, I want to. I absolutely.
Oh man, could you imagine? I mean, it's a beautiful country.
Oh, just the history
and the culture there, and the history.
Yep. Oh, 100%.
The beer.
Yeah, I know you don't have to tell me. I mean,
the sausages and the schnitzels.
I am 100% German. For God, well,
yes,
damn near 100%. I think I have some Scottish thrown in me as well. So,
you got to have some wee bit of Scottish.
I do.
I am so proud of my Scottish heritage.
So, but as everyone knows, poltergeist is German for noisy ghosts. That's simply how it is. Written and interpreted, noisy ghost. But this goes a little bit farther than just creating a little bit of noise, if you ask me. But investigator Chibbett, I'm sorry, I can't remember how to pronounce that. He spent days and nights, recorded all sorts of events that went in and about the house, became a close family member to the Hitchens, and he actually wrote a detailed book about the case, but that book was never published. Oh my God. Is there a manuscript for that somewhere? I just dropped the F-bomb. Let's frickin' conjure up some money and find that manuscript if it is out there, and we'll publish the damn thing. Wow.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Yeah, just think the money that could be made there.
Now we'll get to the part where Donald reveals his identity.
This is very interesting.
Oh gosh. You know, when it gets to, well, we'll get there in a second. The idea of automatic writing and spiritual writing popped in my brain when I was looking into this, Mike. When some of the skeptics threw out the idea that, well, all these notes, they were obviously just simply written by Shirley herself.
Yeah, did we explain that part of it? I mean, where they
we haven't at all. I wanted to talk about that when we get there towards
Okay.
the end of the story here. But I just brought that up because when I was reading the skeptics and reading the skeptical point of view, saying that Shirley was simply writing these notes herself, the idea
Right.
popped into my brain of automatic writing and spirit writing. Like, well, maybe even if she did write it, who's to say that she was controlling her own self writing that?
Right.
Maybe she was inhabited by something at that time, writing for her, through her, if you get what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Now, as time went on, Donald's behavior became increasingly violent. Yeah, like I said, not simply a noisy ghosts. Rooms around the house were found trashed. This is terrifying. Fires would spontaneously break out of nowhere. One actually became so severe that it hospitalized Dad Wally. Now, that's not good.
And this is even after the father hid and locked up all the matches and fire starting
Jeez.
implements in the house.
Wow.
There's
Yeah.
still fires that were being started.
Now, again, that shows an absolute intelligence right there. I
Yeah,
mean, it's like,
Donald brought his own Zippo.
shit. And it's it's like, nope, you're not hiding this from me, bub. Oh, man. But another terrifying aspect, and this is what we're getting to, is some of the writing ideas here, Mike. When writing symbols of crosses and other such phrasing began to appear written on the walls. And I was looking at some of these pictures and some of these notes and some of these writings. If you buy into the idea that it is something from the other side writing these, it's terrifying because it has
It is.
just that creepy look to it. I don't know if you know what I'm getting at.
I'm
there, Mike.
looking at the pictures right now. There's 3 of them here.
I mean, yeah, some of them look like. Okay, let's say if you're a right-hander and you sit there and you, for the first time in your life, you try to write a note with your left hand. That's kind of like what it looks like a little bit every now and then. You know, it's just very childlike almost. But if you're a believer in this, it comes across as writing that would. It takes a hell of a lot of energy to manipulate a writing device if you're coming through on the other side of the veil.
Right.
I mean,
Takes a lot of energy.
yeah, you're not going to be sitting there writing calligraphy on the damn walls. You know, it's not
Right.
going to be fancy schmancy.
You know, and a couple of these pictures, it looks like, you can see where the word France is written, and it's not your typical, writing. And then in another one where you can see where it says Louis,
Mhm.
very script looking, very old world script looking. Very interesting.
Now that adds a little bit of weight to it, doesn't it?
It does.
You know, if this is the spirit of, well, we'll get to that. Well, we mentioned it already. Yeah. Louis Charles, the young prince. It would make a little bit of sense, wouldn't it? I mean, that's how he knew how to write.
It's very true.
It got to the point, Mike, where exorcists were brought in.
Mm-hmm.
Not only exorcists, but police will begin to check up on the house regularly.
And that's how when Parliament actually became involved
Right? Yeah.
with this.
Now, this part, I don't know what I think about this. It says here, I'm going to read this part. It says, mysteriously, Donald even circulated Christmas cards.
Really?
Is he trying to make peace? I mean, what's going on with the Christmas cards here? Like just leaving them, leaving his own otherworldly blessings to the family around the house. I don't know. That's interesting. But you mentioned this earlier, Mike, that the family did learn to communicate with this alleged poltergeist by using alphabet cards and through.
Chib brought some
Yeah.
letter cards is what he called them, and he would point to a card, and if that's the letter that the poltergeist wanted to use to spell out a word, there'd be like the 1 or 2 knocks, one for yes and one for no, or whatever, and that's how they communicated with them.
In March 1956, through written correspondence addressed to Shirley, a note appeared which had written on it, "Shirley, I come. Shirley, comma, I
Right.
come." Wow. That's his ear. I kind of got chills when I just read that because If this is real, that's terrifying to me.
I just remembered something. I just want to backtrack just for a second.
No, please go ahead. Please.
This is a very big part of, the fire thing. And when the father got burned, underneath the burn mark are actual claw-like scratch marks that were on his underneath the burn.
Good God.
So that's showing a lot more of violent intent.
Oh, 100%. Very aggressive violence. Not good. Not good at all.
Anyway, I just thought that was an important little.
No, thank you for doing that. Yeah. We definitely walked past that one. I'm sorry about that, Mike. Now, Donald continued to leave notes around the house. Some notes started to order the family to do such things as dress Shirley in courtly clothes.
Yes.
And now, and did that include like doing her hair up a certain way? Definitely trying to make her look like a particular, not like but from a particular time period almost.
Sure. Something that Donald was more pleasing for him.
Yes.
Especially when he said, "I wish to see her in leopard print panties."
Yep.
Sorry.
No, I can always tell when you're setting up a joke.
Not always, boy. There's times when I get you, and you are.
That's very true.
Hooked right in.
That one though, I could see coming a mile away.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to pull anything over. I was just trying to add a little bit of humor.
Yeah,
get appropriate humor.
Yeah, of course, the most infamous EVP that was picked up during this haunting is when Wally got a little too close to Shirley, and of course he was screamed at. Dude, run! I don't know why he called him a dude, but
yeah, that's always appropriate to use.
Yeah, I'm going to try and fit that into every episode somehow. So you have to fit that into it.
Absolutely.
Now, it's interesting here. I'm not familiar with the actor Jeremy Spencer. Are you?
No, I am not.
But one of the requests by Donald was for the family to contact the famous actor Jeremy Spencer, and this request led to a breakthrough. Now, according to this article,
I should look him up.
It says in a handwritten letter dating to May 1956, Donald identified himself as Louis Charles, the short-lived Louis XVII of France, who was rumored to have escaped captivity during the French Revolution rather than dying a prisoner aged 10, as was later proved. Donald, or Louis XVII, used a number of elaborate French phrases in his letter and claimed that he had drowned en route to exile in England. His story, however fascinating, was often changing and contradictory. But this is an interesting part. The actor Jeremy Spencer, with whom this Donald was also supposedly infatuated with, Donald demanded, as I said earlier, that Shirley go and try to contact Spencer, and if she didn't, Donald threatened that he would cause Spencer harm. Now, extraordinarily, Mike, Spencer suffered a non-fatal car accident shortly after this alleged occurrence. So that's something to ponder a little bit, for sure. Coincidence?
Interesting.
Perhaps.
Well, Jeremy Spencer, he's an English actor, British actor, which I thought would have been the case. Right. Debuted at the age of 11 in Anna Karenina.
Oh.
The following year, he played in the black comedy Kind Hearts and Coronets as the young Louis Mazzini. Born 1937. Yeah, interesing. But why? I mean, there's got to be something reason.
There. That's something there. Is this actor reincarnated form of one of Louis' closest
he was
companions?
In Fahrenheit 451 as well.
Now, we're getting to the end of the main chunk of the story.
Yes.
The heart of the story, I should say. But I was listening to a recent interview with Shirley, and she was talking about how when her parents left the house in 1965, the presence of Donald had been kind of slowly disappearing and waning by that point. 1967, She had left London altogether, moved to Sussex, I believe, with her husband Derek. I think she said her husband's name was, but her parents still resided in Battersea. What was interesting is that she claimed, and this was in the recent interview with Shirley Mike, she claimed that both her and her husband, residing in Sussex, would still receive notes throughout their house, giving them updates on her parents back in Battersea. And her parents, this is again according to Shirley, were receiving notes providing updates on Shirley and her husband.
Really?
So
Crazy.
what do you think about that? That's quite the twist right there.
Very. That's helpful, I guess.
I don't know what I think about that. I don't know. I guess I'll leave it at that. Now, we have to dive into some of the supposed explanations of all of this, Mike. Some scientists.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Hang on just a second.
Oh man, we're talking over each other a lot.
I know, but there's just so much here that let's see.
Well, you talk over me, then you stop talking.
And then I don't talk at all. It says here where there's a time when Donald quit hanging around or something like that. I'm trying to find it here, but I'm trying to hurry. But
no, that's fine. No rush. It's okay.
But the mother, Shirley's mother, was heartbroken.
Oh yeah.
It says because she thought of Donald like a son.
That's right.
But of course, Shirley and her dad were extremely happy about that.
Yes, she said that in that same interview. She said her mom essentially went into mourning.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, no, thank you for bringing that up. Yeah,
but
I forgot
it
about that.
Also didn't end there. Did you find a part in what you were researching, how it was in the 1980s?
No.
With this story.
Please share.
That's no, I just lost my web page.
Well, do you need me to pause then real quick so you can find it?
Yes, please.
All right, hold on. We'll actually let's do the time traveling excursion. Hold on, boys and girls. We shall return.
Yeah. So like what I wanted to say before we get to that point was that in the research that I was doing, there was like a part of this that happened in the 80s with this story where Shirley, as a grown adult, she was I can't find the or can't get hooked up with the actual part that I could read, but she was somewhere like in a shop or something like that. I can't remember, but this lady went up to her, supposedly a psychic lady, and told her that there was a young boy that was connected to her. And I can't remember if she said what the little boy's name was, but he had a message for Shirley to tell her that he was sorry for everything that he had done to them and done to her when she was younger, growing up.
Oh, so okay. So the psychic is telling Shirley that
just walked up to her in this public place, didn't know her,
that she has a message from a young boy
that's connected to her, of a spirit of a young boy,
and wanted to apologize to what he had caused,
everything that he had done. Yep.
Oh, that's bizarre.
Yeah.
Really? So is that implying that the poltergeist was a young boy as well, or is it just moved on to inhabit another a young boy? I mean, that's tough for me to wrap my head around that one.
I know, the spirit of a young boy. So maybe could it have been a young boy that was doing this and taking on different identities and doing all these things? But for whatever reason, the spirit of a young boy would be doing all these things, infatuated with a young British actor. There's a lot of things that are just odd about it that you can't come up with an answer for.
That is, it is very odd. Like we were talking about during our time traveling excursion there, Mike, we were saying, like, why would this, entity be infatuated with this actor?
Yeah. Especially if it was somebody from the 17th century or whatever it was.
Yeah. And then, so I just threw out, I was like, well, is this actor like the reincarnated version of someone that the spirit knew, was a companion with back during their initial existence, and so
Yeah.
so this
Could it actually have been the spirit of a young boy that it was more contemporary when he was alive and and was a big fan of this actor?
That's weird, man. That's a bizarre twist on there, but it's something to definitely. It's tough to.
I don't know.
Wrap
It's
your head
odd.
around, but it's something to ponder. That's for sure. But before we had to time travel, some of the explanations, Mike, we need to dive into a couple of these
Right.
potential explanations.
Yes.
For these occurrences.
Potential explanations, theories, and whatnot.
Some point to the noises coming from the house simply being located on an uneasy marshland. Okay.
Okay.
Others suggest that acid in the soil could lead to madness.
Leaded paint chips in their oatmeal
I mean, and
or porridge, I should say.
sorry, I finally realized what you said. That was funny. I guess apparently the family cat even ended up being analyzed
Really?
by
I bet that cat was happy about that, giving pissed off looks at "Don't touch me."
Now, obviously, we've already kind of talked about the potential, the theory that people themselves, particularly young girls, around that age, are behind poltergeist activity. Well, Mike, what do you think? What is going on here? I mean, I'm not even going to go on and read any more of these because they're just, to me, they're silly. But
I think there was a confused ghost or a ghost that was having fun.
Can I just say something
in too
really
many
quick
different
again?
ways.
I just want to say something I want to say something quick again.
Okay, go ahead.
Acid in the soil leads to madness. Okay, go ahead, Mike. I just wanted to say that.
Well, it's no worse than leaded paint chips in their
No.
porridge.
It's like, come on. It's like, come on now.
And I made that one up.
That was good. That was good.
But
Well,
anyway,
yeah.
anyway, I think it's a paranormal event. I think there's it's poltergeist activity and some of it extreme. But all these weird twists and turns that it takes, I can't explain that. I mean,
right. I mean, you're talking about.
I don't know. I'm at a loss.
You're talking about like the twist, just the odd twists and turns of like the infatuation aspect and the actor involved in that, and
right.
And the actor involved in a near fatal car accident after saying, Donald threatening or saying that you better do this or something's going to happen, and lo and behold, it happened.
It's obviously a very strong entity, something with a lot of energy, a lot of power, which means it can't be just your regular house haunting spirit that needs to get energy from something. Well, unless it was getting energy from the girl's emotions, which makes it more of a poltergeist activity. But I don't think it was a Frenchman from hundreds of years ago or whatever. I don't.
Okay.
I don't buy that. The little boy coming up in the 80s, apologizing for all this stuff.
Talk about a weird twist.
That's a really weird twist.
No, you
could it have
can't.
been this little boy the whole time?
You can't sit there. You can't sit there and think that this. And I'm not suggesting that this is what you think, Mike. But I should say one can't sit there and think that this is a benign and malevolent, purely benign and malevolent, or a benevolent entity. And we were talking about fires being set in this house.
Yeah, the scratches
the burns. I mean, come on now. This isn't just something trying to simply get attention here. This is something that is intentionally trying to cause some physical harm. So that's another odd twist on it because it just doesn't match up with the idea of it being simply infatuation. You know, there's that word again.
Yeah.
You know, an attachment. And even obsession. This goes beyond obsession. In some ways, it does. But I don't know, man. This is a tough one to wrap my head around.
It is. I don't know.
I think something was happening. I think something was happening that was supernatural. That's for sure.
It's a bizarre haunting, but you know, there are a lot of bizarre hauntings like this where, well, you know, a lot of poltergeist.
Poltergeist. That's the second time you said poltergeist.
Poltergeist activity that, you know, like the Bell Witch and the, things like the movie The Entity, or the story that goes behind that.
The Enfield poltergeist. I mean, that's another one that I love. The Enfield poltergeist story.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many that this is just like another story in line with all these other ones that it has its own category. You know, they have their own category to be in, and this one fits in with that you can't completely explain, and you have to try to decide what's real and what's, you know, fabricated, or what might be fabricated, or what might be exaggerated. You know, there's just so many things you have to think about before you really can put an explanation or come up with an idea of an explanation even.
Yeah. Even an inkling of an idea.
Right.
You know?
Sure.
Now, again, I'm repeating myself with this one. This is a tough one to wrap my head around. I'm definitely leaning towards it being a supernatural occurrence, though.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Mike, we need to wrap up the show, but we have a long way to go. We need to wrap it up with one last take on, a wee little story called the Amityville Horror. I hope you have your thinking cap on, or at least your opinionated thinking cap on, because
I have that.
No shades of gray. It's either yay or nay when it comes to one last take, my friends. So let's take our final time traveling excursion. Don't go anywhere, boys and girls. We shall be right back. All right, we are back for one last take. No shades of gray. It's either yay or nay. Bogus or real. Mike, I don't care how we may look at it either way. It's like, well, I kind of believe it, or I don't really believe it, but no, we have to decide. We have to choose.
This is a tough one.
Yay or nay. I'm starting to love, well, not starting, but as listeners know, longtime listeners know, this is my favorite segment of the shows, because we just basically riff off the top of our heads and share our worthless opinions. So it's good. I like it. And Mike, before we go any further, I'd be remiss, though. I have to say something.
Okay.
Totally unrelated to the topic.
Say it.
I totally unrelated to the topic, but the other night I purchased a movie on Vudu for $4.99. A movie that I used to watch over and over and over in the late 1980s when I was a young man, a very young man. And I watched this movie to the point of memorizing it. Classic horror pick. A remake starring the one and only Jeff Goldblum.
Is it The Fly?
The Fly, Mike. I
love that movie.
I bought that. I hadn't seen that for years, and I saw that available on the weekly deals. I was like, I'm buying it, and I watched it, and it's like, I love that movie. Gosh, that movie was so good.
Mr. Goldblum at his best. I mean, I caught a little bit of it.
Terrific in that movie.
Like about a week or so ago on TV.
Oh, did you? I didn't
get just like the last quarter of it, maybe, if even that. But yeah, it's just so classic. I mean, and so different from the original. You know,
I think that Jeff Goldblum's acting was terrific in that movie.
Oh, absolutely. I think all of Jeff Goldblum's acting is terrific. Yeah, I love that man.
It's not like I'm saying
I want
anything.
a lock of his chest hair.
I don't think he has any.
Just kidding.
It's not like I'm it's not like I said some profound, unique statement there. I think he's a fine actor. I mean, my
Yeah.
gosh, that was ridiculous how I made it
Like
sound.
like when his ear falls off, where he's looking at his finger in the mirror, and then he squeezes it and it just
Yeah.
squirts all over. And
Oh God, that part when he starts pulling his fingernails off of his fingers, I hate that.
Very bad.
I hate it. I hate the sound effects, but I love it. It's just like, ugh.
yeah, and be afraid. Be very afraid.
And I will say this though, as much as I love the movie, as much as I love it, I could watch the first hour of the movie 100 times more than I watched the last 45 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
I never liked his grotesque disintegration. I mean,
and then into complete
oh,
disintegration at the end,
man.
where then he, he becomes him and the pod,
become
come
one.
together. And
Yep.
yeah, Brundlefly.
I don't get me wrong. I love all of it, but if I had to just watch one half, I'd watch the first half.
Yeah.
It's-
As he's progressing and
yeah.
then when he starts puking on things before he eats
Yeah,
it,
then it's like, no thanks.
it's
No thanks.
it's dose of enzymes on these donuts before I
Yep.
slurp it back up.
Yep, a corrosive enzyme,
Yeah.
that he slurps it back up. I
Yeah.
just love how he acts. Oh man,
And then the arm wrestling scene in the bar
breaks the guy's arm literally out of his
destroys
skin.
it. Ugh.
Yep.
And Gina Davis, she was very good in it. She
Oh, of course.
the way she portrayed complete and utter terror
Yeah.
and emotion in parts of that was pretty awesome.
Nope, she definitely did not like. Yeah, when she was struggling to put him out of his misery at the end in the
Yeah.
state that he was in,
Yep.
and she still struggled to do that. I mean,
Yeah.
she obviously the character was truly in love with Brundle
Yeah.
because she just couldn't do it. Well, Mike, Amityville Horror. I'm sorry about that little excursion into the fly,
that's
but
all right.
I needed to get that off my fly chest. Well, when it comes to one last take, we spare everybody with most of the details because usually these stories are well known and our listeners are intelligent people. They know the story of Amityville Horror.
Oh yeah.
The Lutz family moving into the house after Ron DeFeo killed, murdered, slaughtered 6 family members in 1975, I believe it was. Let's get
who
the
is
date
still
right.
serving 6 consecutive life sentences.
Well, he died though in last year. He passed away in prison.
Well, then he's not.
Then he's not. He served his sentence, and it was 1974 when Ron DeFeo shot and killed 6 members of his family. And when I brought this up to Bridget, when I said, "Yeah, we're doing, one last take tonight on Amityville Horror," Bridget's kind of an expert on this, so she just loves the story. She owns an original copy of the book that has literally the pages are falling out because it was read so much by her mother when her mom owned it back in the day, and she handed it down to Bridget. But the first thing that Bridget brought up when I asked her, I said, like, your thoughts, if you have to say yay or nay essentially to this. The first thing that she said, she goes like, well, why didn't anyone wake up when
Sure.
6 people are being killed by shotgun blasts
Yeah.
and no one woke up? I mean, what's going on there? I mean,
And what's the deal with and Ron DeFeo himself changed his story many times.
that's the thing. I mean, you can't sit there and, you can't go back and forth. You can't say one thing and then, oh, wait, no, by the way, I was mistaken, or I forgot to mention this. No, your story gets less and less viable the more you change it. So we will read a couple of stats here.
Yeah. But the thing is that,
Stats.
there was the murders that took place. That is definite.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. It's a tragedy. Absolute tragedy.
Everything, before the Lutzes moved in, it was a real tragic event. And anything after that is who can speculate. But the Lutzes, mom and dad, they did pass a lie detector test on what was going on there.
They did, but say what you will about lie detector tests. Some people say they're a
Sure.
bunch of hogwash. I mean,
Right.
they say you simply have to learn to, breathe properly and you'll pass a lie detector test.
Yep.
Don't get nervous. Basically, that's what you do.
Yeah.
But would you be able to pass a lie detector test, Mike?
Even if I was innocent, I don't know if I could.
That's the thing. That's the thing. They're terrifying. That's why they're not admissible. That you can't use them in court because they're just, you can't base anything upon a lie detector test. You just can't.
Well, they are inadmissible in court, even, aren't they?
That's what I just said.
Yes. See, that's how I don't listen to you. I'm sorry.
That's fine. That's okay. I know.
Yeah. Well, see,
you ignore me.
I'm watching you talk. Okay.
Yeah.
On because we can see each other when we're doing this recording.
Yeah.
And there are moments where, I'm watching you talk, and then all of a sudden just blurs. I mean, I can see you, but the vocalization just goes into just garble, and then it'll come back, and so I miss things.
So what?
What
are you like the Charlie Brown teachers like that? That's what you're hearing is like wah, wah,
sometimes my mind,
wah, wah,
without even me thinking about it, will
wah,
have
wah,
to shut you out.
wah, 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 wah.
Anyway, I'm just trying to make excuses for me not catching what you said. So anyway, we shall carry on.
Do you think? That's one thing I did write down. I wanted to say this real quick. The name Amityville, when you hear it nowadays, it immediately conjures up just like you like, ugh. You get that feeling. It's like, oh, that's bad. That's just like, not cool. Amityville.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Creepy.
They've got sharks there.
That's Amity. No, there is a difference, Mike. There's a difference. But I think you see where I'm going with this.
Mm-hmm.
The name literally means like friendship town, friendship village.
Yeah.
It's like such a sweet sounding name, Amityville. Oh, come stay at Amityville. It's wonderful, but it doesn't mean that at all anymore, does it?
Yeah, that one event and everything that purportedly happened after has changed that.
Like we said, it was November 13th. We should get a couple of stats here, right? November 13th, 1974. I said 75. I was wrong. Ron DeFeo Jr. shot and killed 6 members of his family at 112 Ocean Avenue in Amityville on the South Shore of Long Island, New York. He was convicted of second-degree murder in November 1975, sentenced to 6 sentences of 25 years to life in prison. And as I mentioned to Mike, and apparently new news to Mike, he died.
I didn't think of it.
He died in custody in March of just last year, 2021. The family of George and Kathy Lutz, the married couple, I should say, George and Kathy Lutz, and their 3 children, the family then moved into the house, but only after just 28 days, I should say, they moved out of the house, claiming to have been terrorized by paranormal phenomena while living in the house.
Well, it's more than just paranormal phenomenon. It was like ridiculously crazy. They could have called it Donald.
But like I said, Mike, we're going to spare a lot of the crazy stories. We'll try and hit on a few of them here and there. One thing that always bothered me about this is that the lawyer who defended Ron DeFeo back in the 1970s, he came out and said that the book Amityville Horror was simply written by the author, J. Anson, and George and Kathy Lutz themselves over, quote unquote, several bottles of wine.
Right. That was after he had a falling out with them.
So
and was no longer friendly with them.
Right.
So I don't know. Could it have been some kind of a retribution thing, or like, I'm going to piss them off and say this, or
true.
Was it actual,
and George and Kathy, they did file lawsuits, against him after the fact. Just that starts to muddle everything up right there. I think George is quoted as to say, George actually was quoted to say that most of the story was true. But again, even if 5% of the story was true, that's still enough to be terrifying and considered a haunting. But how many? Essentially, all horror stories, if if they are based on even an inkling of truth, 99% of what you see on screen, if it's turned into a movie, is pure drama, pure
Right.
made up fiction, just to enhance the story itself. Rarely do they not do justice to the true story, which Andrea Perrin claims was the case for the Conjuring films. She says that the Conjuring didn't even show you 10% of what really went on in that house.
Right. And Travis Walton says things about Fire in the Sky as well.
Oh, great point, Mike. Great. He says, yep, 100% there. I agree with you. So, again, we're already kind of treading on wishy-washy soil here.
Yeah.
Wishy-washy soil.
Kind of swampy.
Do you have any memories, Mike, of when this
I do.
when this first came into national prominence back in the 70s?
I remember seeing it on the news, like the nightly news.
Oh, you do, actually?
The Chet Huntley, Walter Cronkite,
No
or whoever
kidding.
it was.
Can you talk about
I
that?
don't
for a
know.
little
I don't
bit?
know who it was that I was seeing on this news thing, but yeah, I had talked about this once before when we were talking about the Amityville Horror, that I remember seeing, and I hope I'm not getting it mixed up with a documentary that I saw, but I'm almost sure that when I saw it on the news, it showed like the front of the house, showed the cops out there and showed the flashing lights, and it showed the police tape and everything. And I swear that it was before Ronnie DeFeo was arrested, and he was talking on the news with the reporter. And because I remember how he looked and everything, and how he was talking about, I don't remember exactly what he said about what happened or anything, but that's my memory of seeing it on the news. And like I said, I hope I'm not getting that mixed up with something else, but that's like a memory that I have of when it first came out.
That's awesome, though, that you actually, but I mean, you were a young man when this happened.
Yeah. It was what year again?
Well, the murders was 74.
Yeah.
So
I was 12 years old, old enough to
very much aware.
Yep.
Now, we should point out that the Lutzes were made aware of the murders before they decided to move in.
Okay.
They did know that happened, but they were basically, it was too good of a deal for them to turn down.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
It was a nice locale.
Oh, beautiful house. You know, that,
Beautiful house.
you know, like the water in the back there and everything in the boathouse, and
Yeah,
all that
absolutely.
fun stuff.
I'm just kind of perusing some of the. I want to find some notes to hit on here, but without sounding
And if
too-
another, while you're doing that, it's another thing about this house is that, when you're, there's the style of the windows, the Amityville
yes
horror house windows.
Yes.
You cannot see a house that you're driving by or see in anything that might even have a something that's close to what they look like, and you think Amityville Horror.
Oh, every single time.
Yeah,
Every
it's
time.
those windows when you see them from the outside looking at the house, or like when you're in that room, and you're or when they show in that room looking out, in that attic area or bedroom or whatever it was, but and picturing the pig with glowing eyes out the window.
Oh
and,
God, yeah, that's
what
don't
was
like
the
that.
What did they call that? It was some girl's name that
Well,
the kid named that. I can't remember what it was, but
remind me. I'll definitely look that up. Yeah, because this is coming back to me right now, because we did talk about this on an episode of the Alternate Rail podcast.
yeah,
During
was it like Jody or something like that? I can't remember.
it was during our
Driving.
during our infamous hauntings episode where we talked about
Right.
like the haunting that the movie The Entity was based upon.
Yeah.
The Amityville Horror. And
Mhm.
I'm failing to remember what the other one was, but
Right.
it's creepy. They're, like I said, Mike, they're iconic. The visual is iconic.
Yeah.
Of
But
those-
did you know
of
that
those windows.
homeowners since then, and the house has been lived in by many families.
Yes.
And each one of them say they have never experienced anything paranormal in there while they're living there.
Nothing has happened.
But over the time of people living there, they've actually changed those windows. So those windows aren't even on the house anymore.
Right.
Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
because people identify it with so much, there's probably people who drive by just to see that and see the windows and, and probably still do. And also it's an interesting thing is that on Google Maps, that house is blurred out for some reason.
Wow. I didn't know that. Seriously. Really?
Yeah. I was looking at little tidbits and facts about it. And
like the houses otherwise in the area, you can see perfectly fine.
But that one is blurred out. And I don't know if that can happen on different things for different reasons at different places and locations. But, but that house is blurred out on Google Maps.
Listeners,
and the address has changed from what it was back then.
Listeners, let us know of any reasons that you are aware of why a house would be blurred out on Google Maps like that. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah. It could be a simple, not a big deal reason.
Sure,
who knows?
Of course.
Yeah. It's just an interesting thing about that house that,
Mike, let's try and fly through some of this.
Okay.
After moving in December 1875, December 18th, 1975, a friend of George Lutz learned about the history of the house and insisted on having the house blessed. John was a non-practicing Methodist. Kathy was a non-practicing Catholic. George knew a Catholic priest named Father Ray who agreed to carry on with the house blessing. Father Ray Mancuso was a lawyer, also a judge of the Catholic court, and a psychotherapist. Interesting. Wow, that's a lot of stuff to juggle. He arrived to perform the blessing while George and Kathy were unpacking on the afternoon of December 18th and went to the building carrying out the rites. When he flicked the first holy water and began to pray, he said he heard a masculine voice demand that he, quote unquote, get out.
Get out.
And I think in the movie they portray it as like the house is like the room starts shaking.
Yeah, and the flies and everything. And
right. Now, was that the movie or was that the book? I can't pull it right now, but I know something was described or it was just like the room literally was like rumbling and get out.
Well, in the movie, it was the get out, and I think it said it a few times until it almost screamed, get out!
Right.
And then the flies are buzzing all over the place. And
Jesus.
Yeah.
That kind of creeped me out that you just did that. It's like, I'm sorry.
And who was it? Rod Steiger. He got sick and puked when he got out the front door and over the railing because it was so bad. And then in the movie, didn't he get in a car accident, get killed too, or something like that? I can't remember.
It's been so long. I'm not going to be. I'm not going to pretend like I've watched a movie recently because I haven't. It's been years since I've seen it. So my bad.
Me too.
But to continue here, it says, when leaving the house, Father Mancuso did not mention this incident to either George or Kathy. Hey, why would you? Right? I mean, come on, dude. Tell them. Why would he not tell them? On returning to the house, Father Mancuso called George Lutz and advised him to stay out of the second floor room where he heard the mysterious voice.
That's right. So he was still alive. He didn't get killed.
The former bedroom of Mark and John Matthew DeFeo. He heard the mysterious voice from the former bedroom of Mark and John Matthew DeFeo, and that Kathy planned to use that room as a sewing room. But then the call was cut short by static. Interesting. Now, following his visit to the house, Father Mancuso allegedly developed a high fever and blisters on his hands similar to stigmata. Ooh. We've done several conversations on stigmata.
Yeah.
That's very, very interesting. Now, at first, George and Kathy experienced nothing unusual in the house. Talking about their experiences subsequently, though, they reported that it was as if they were each living in a different house. So they start, and I think the movie portrayed them as that too. Like the relationship was kind of withering, wasn't it?
Yeah,
like they felt
and it just got worse after things were happening. And
yeah.
Yep.
Now, by mid-January 1976, after another attempt at a house blessing by George and Kathy, they experienced what would turn out to be their final night in the house. The Lutzes declined to give a full account of the events that took place on this occasion, describing them simply as being too frightening. And all sorts of lovely shit happened, but we're not going to bore our listeners with that because everyone has heard this 1,000 times over and over and over again, and we won't give it justice.
Yeah, George Lutz, I think too. He was into the occult and things before.
Yes,
all of this went on, and so he was like,
Well, the movie kind of portrayed him again. I'm just going by the movie memories. Then wasn't he? Mm-hmm. They kind of portrayed him as being like the the focal point. He was almost like the one who's bringing in the negative energy from,
Right.
into the
And yeah,
house.
like he was changing so much and turning just cold all the time, kept on
Yeah.
putting logs on the fireplace and
Yes.
wearing a nice chenille sweater and things like that, in a silky scarf.
Didn't he have a
And an ascot.
Didn't he have a very handsome beard too? Or am I thinking?
He did. He had, as only James Brolin can look in a beard.
Yes, very good, very good. So, yeah, we better wrap up, but we have so much to dive into here. Mike, okay, the facts. A tragic murder occurred there. 6 people were
No
brutally
question about that.
brutally slaughtered by a flippin' family member who obviously was suffering from problems. And his story changed so often. He claimed that he was told to do it. He was possessed by something that made him do it, and he was going back
Heard
and
the
forth.
voices that told him to do it. Yeah.
I mean, it's again, when you change your story, though, I mean, what are we supposed to think?
The credibility, it lessens with each story change.
He was obviously a mentally unstable person. I mean, that's something you can't deny, whatever the cause, whatever the root cause. The Lutzes move in, claim to be forced essentially to move out due to paranormal phenomena that was frightening beyond reason. And the legend lives on, Mike. There's something about the Amityville horror that this story just does not go away.
It won't go away. It won't quit.
It
I'm just
never
glad
will.
they quit making movies.
Well, no, they're going to. I guarantee you
Oh,
they'll make another one.
Jesus.
I'm saying I'm guaranteeing you they'll make another one. And then
They
they'll-
will. You
then-
haven't heard of it, but you're
No. But why would they not? I mean,
I know.
10 years from now, there'll be another rendering of it.
Sure. Like everything else, they'll do a remake
Yeah.
of a reboot of the original.
But why is that? What is it about this? Is it just? Is it because of the sensation that the book was, and it just reverberated so much throughout the consciousness of America and the world that we just can't get past this idea, this phenomena, that this horror that Amityville became? I mean, why does this not go away?
The book helped, I'm sure, and whatever goes along with that. But the fact that all of this stuff came out that was supposedly happening in this house started after this gruesome, violent crime that was committed.
Yes.
I mean, this is based on something that is so real and happened. I mean, the son killing his mom and dad and killing the other kids. I mean, that alone,
There's
and anything
no disputing.
built,
Yeah.
anything built off of that and purported to be real because of this event. I mean, that right there is just going to
Sure.
the energy to blow it up and just go from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, the Lutzes, they could have known that they had a great story here and they could build off of it and make some money. And I don't know how much money they've made or whatever, but
and if it was purely done out of exploitation, then shame on them.
oh, absolutely.
And I'm not saying it was, but I'm just saying
no.
if that was the sole reason for this occurrence, for this book to be written, I mean, I get
But
it.
why move
I
out
get
of this
it.
house after 28 days? What did they lose from doing that? Do they get their money back or what? I mean,
Very true.
did they take that chance of losing whatever out of that just to, be another basis for this story that,
Mike, and that's another thing that's another reason as to why the story continues to fascinate people is because there are still little tidbits of mystery to it. I mean, there
too many
always
questions that can't be answered.
too many questions that, like you said, will never be answered. And so
Right.
everyone is left to their own devices.
Right.
Everyone's left to their own opinions and their takes, which is where we are going, Mike. Yay or nay, no shades of gray. I'm putting you on the spot, Mike. You can't sit there and rank it 1 out
I
of
know.
10. You can't sit there and say, well, I do believe this, but I don't believe this part. You have to say yay or nay, believer or not, hoax or reality, haunting or fake, Mike.
Well,
What
I
do
am
you
going
say?
to say, with, and without having a deathbed confession of it not being real or being a hoax or whatever yet, if we will ever get that, I doubt it. But did this happen? Is there a haunting that went on after the murders with the first family that moved into there because of the energy being so strong after these deaths occurred and these murders occurred for that first family? Yes, something happened.
So, yes, you in perhaps the most vague way possible. I think you said yay. Okay.
Yeah. But, but that's also,
Because, Mike, you realize what you
not-
just said. You said, yes, something happened.
yes, something happened. I mean,
Supernaturally. Supernaturally, you're talking about.
something supernatural
Okay.
happened to that family.
Gotcha.
And then where they decided to go with it after that is, where we're at now.
So
So,
you're going to say yay.
yes, yay, a haunting.
And, well, not like, yay, woohoo, yay. No, not
Yes.
that. But, okay. That's
And I'm not saying that everything in those movies, well, like how much of it is real, like we were talking about,
right.
how much of the story is real. I'm not saying I believe all of that,
But you
but
have
you can't.
You have to pick a side, and you're picking it.
I picked it. Yep. I picked a side.
You're picking it being reality. Damn it! Now I have to pick something. Mike, do you mind if I take a moment and? Dude, run! Yeah, I don't. Well, I hate to disappoint our many listeners, but yet again, if I have to choose something, bum bum ba bum. I don't want to bother looking for that sound effect. I have to say nay. I have to say no. I have to say
Yep.
it's an exploitive hoax on a
Yep.
real, true life tragedy. And I hate saying it. It bothers me saying that. But this is what One Last Take is all about. I'm not saying I
Absolutely.
don't believe some of the aspects of the story of the haunting itself. I'm not saying it's not possible to be an actual legit haunting. But we're forced to choose something, Mike, and I'm saying nay. Hoax. So I'm sorry. Everyone's so disappointed in me right now. I apologize, but that's what
no,
I'm
that's
all
okay.
about.
I mean, yay or nay. No shade of gray.
No shade of gray. That's a
but,
new catchphrase, right?
And it is. For this, it is. How can I disappoint our listeners by saying I don't believe that shit?
So you're saying that you're not being truthful in your take?
I am. No, I am being truthful.
Okay.
I am being truthful.
All right.
And I want to believe. I cannot let it go as just an exploitive
No.
but story.
But you truthfully definitely lean towards you pick the side of it being real.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that's what's okay. That's what's all about, buddy. Well, Mike, wow, we're at an hour and 35 minutes. That's a pretty long one for the Paranormally Zone. So
It is.
I'm proud of us. I'm proud of ourselves. Even though we were forced to deal with some poltergeist like activity ourselves tonight with our technical problems, the audio issues, freezing up. I'm looking at you every now and then. It still freezes up on me, but that's okay. You're fine. You're the paranormal poster boy. So if anything is if I'm forced to stare at anybody, I want to stare at the paranormal poster boys. So there you go.
I tell you, I'm gonna put together a poster or something, a meme or a GIF or something that shows me as a poster, the poster boy of paranormal, the poster boy of the paranormal.
Very good. I like
that.
Yeah. Well. Or you could be a poister and look like you're in a shell, like a clam shell.
Yes.
I'm a poister.
Sure. Yeah, there you go.
Anyways, dumb joke. Well, thank you everybody for
Patrick
tuning
tries.
in.
Damn it, I hurt his feelings. Now I'm not going to hear from him for a week.
I'm just trying
because he's hurt. I hurt his feelings. No, I'm just kidding. You know that.
I'm trying to find appropriate music right now.
Large sobbing sounds.
This is what's going. This is
Oh, quick now, Patrick, your makeup's running. Jesus.
this is what's going through my heart right now. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. This has been a wonderful conversation with my buddy Mike. Anyways, well, thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
I'll still
That was
sleep
good
well. No
episode.
worries. No worries. Yeah, it was a good conversation. Thank you very much. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this
Everybody.
hopefully entertaining episode of the Paranormally Zone. Mike, until next time, what do our awesome listeners need to do, my friend?
Peace out.
God, don't do that with your freaking lips. Okay. Bye.